5 new universities are set to open satellite campuses this year in Ras Al Khaimah. Sharia law will soon rule over the Swat region of Pakistan. What does it mean for U.S.-Pakistan relations? And lights, camera, action. We meet the finest young filmmakers from around the region, showcasing their work at the Emirates Palace Hotel. Welcome to Inside the National, the only program that brings you here into the offices of the national newspaper in Abu Dhabi every weekday evening. In tonight's edition, why is it proving so difficult for women in the region to excel in the sciences? And we do a quick preview of a must-win game for the UAE's cricket team. But first, our lead story. It's looking like there will soon be a lot more choice for university students in Ras Al Khaimah. At least 5 new universities are expected to launch in the Emirate this year, branches from Japan, Singapore, the US, and Australia. Lower rents and cheaper tuition fees have fueled the growth in Ras Al Khaimah's education sector. The National's chief reporter Daniel Bardsley joins me now. Daniel, this is really good news for an expanding Ras Al Khaimah free trade zone, isn't it?
Yes, they've had lots of universities opening there in the last 2 or 3 years, and it seems there's no sign that the pace of opening there is slowing at all, despite the global economic slowdown, which some people thought might make foreign universities slightly more wary of making the financial commitments required to open branch campuses.
And yet, it's a bit of a surprising move, really, if you take into consideration that we have had announcement that at least one foreign institution in Ras Al Khaimah is set to close.
Yes, that was in February. George Mason University announced that it was closing its Ras Al Khaimah branch that had only launched degree courses in 2006 and hadn't graduated a single student. And some foreign universities have suggested that this could make institutions more wary of opening branch campuses, because there have been 1 or 2 other failures in Singapore and then in Dubai a few years ago.
Did George Mason University offer any explanation for why they've decided to cease operating in Ras Al Khaimah?
I think it was they couldn't come to an agreement with the Emirate over the budgets for the campus. Most of the branch campuses in Ras Al Khaimah are self-funding, so they pay their own way through tuition fees. But George Mason was a different case in that it was actually funded by the Emirate, and I think that they couldn't agree with the Emirate over the level of funding.
And these 5 new institutions that are meant to open by the end of this year, will they be funded by Ras Al Khaimah, or will they be operating as standalone universities?
No, they'll be standalone universities like most of the others in Ras Al Khaimah and most of the branch campuses in Dubai. So they'll sort of live or die on what will determine their success will be whether they can bring in enough students to pay their running costs.
Earlier this month, we told you how dropping rents in Dubai have people on the move. They're trading up to bigger, better, and closer accommodations. All of that moving has led to a surprising shortage of cardboard boxes. Assistant National Editor Anthony Richardson joins me now. Anthony, how did you find out in the first place that there was this shortage of boxes?
One of our reporters in Dubai visited Festival City, the shopping mall there, and spoke to various hardware stores who reported that they've got this incredible shortage of cardboard boxes at the moment caused by this. One in particular, Ace Hardware in Festival City. So they've pretty much run out for the first time. They're sort of out of stock of cardboard boxes because they've seen a huge increase recently of people just coming in and buying them in bulk often. I think they said that they've seen a doubling in the number of cardboard boxes that they're actually selling. And similarly, IKEA, which is also based in Festival City, are saying they've seen an enormous increase as well, and they're sort of struggling to keep stock, so they're having to increase their own shipments of cardboard boxes and so on.
And I guess desperate times call for desperate measures. In your story, it also says that Carrefour is having people turn up and say, please, don't you have any empty boxes?
Exactly, yeah. They're saying, Carrefour are saying they're seeing sort of 2 or 3 people every day kind of coming in and asking for spare Carrefour boxes to help with their house moves, which is unprecedented for them as well. So again, they're sort of struggling to hold on to their cardboard as well.
And of course, it's not just dropping rents in Dubai that is behind this, all of this moving. It's also people who are relocating around the Emirates in their search for new jobs.
Yep, that's right. Same seems to be true in Abu Dhabi. A lot of people are trying to escape the rather high rents in the capital at the moment, because they're actually moving to other Emirates. And again, this has led to a similar cardboard box crisis, if you like, in Abu Dhabi, as people pack up their belongings. And of course, another factor is people actually, of course, unfortunately leaving the country in relatively large numbers, moving abroad for work, who've unfortunately suffered in the financial crisis and perhaps been made redundant. That's another factor.
You did speak with international movers, removals agencies?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I've seen one firm in particular has seen a large increase in recent months of people packing up to leave the country. And as I say, there was a removal firm in Abu Dhabi which reported a large, more people than normal leaving the Emirates to escape those rents. So it's across the board, seemingly, yes.
Elsewhere in business, Goldman Sachs is planning to raise $5 billion to repay U.S. government rescue funds and get rid of limits on executive pay. The bank yesterday announced profits that far exceeded even the most optimistic Wall Street analysts. If Goldman pays back the bailout cash, it'll put pressure on rival banks to follow suit. Shares in Qantas plummeted today after the airline forecast a second-half loss. Australia's largest carrier will cut 1,750 jobs as demand for premium travel declines. Qantas predicts its full-year profits will fall by as much as 93% this year. Singapore predicts its economy may shrink as much as 9% this year, the most since the country's independence in 1965. The government's reduced its forecast for the third time since early January as the deepening global recession drives down exports and manufacturing.
Columnist Mohammed Aish is writing a piece for tomorrow's edition of The National. He's lamenting the problems that many Arab women face in getting to the tops of their professions in the science and engineering fields. Deputy comment editor Patrick Granfield is here now to discuss the piece with me. Patrick, what's the thrust of Mohammed's story?
Well, Tina, Mohammed Aish is talking about how women have received more opportunities for education in the Arab world over the past decade, over the past 2 decades, and how there's really a dearth of women who have chosen scientific professions. So he's looking at why that is and what we can do as a society to correct it.
And what prompted the piece? Why did he write it now?
Mohammed is looking at an international convention in Geneva where many different inventions from all over the world were selected for their ingenuity and for their chance to make the world a better place. One of the winners at Geneva was a Saudi girl, 10 years old, who invented something to help babies prevent choking. And he's saying, well, this is one girl who obviously has a tremendous capacity for scientific achievement. What can we do to have her and many other Arab women choose scientific professions and become leaders in their fields?
So is he suggesting that there's a cultural issue in the Arab world that's stopping this from happening? Because this is an issue around the world, that women in general are not going into the hard sciences to the same degree as men are.
Certainly. I mean, you had a whole hullabaloo at Harvard University with Larry Summers saying that women weren't as able to do science as men. So he's saying that, yes, it is a cultural issue in the Arab world, but it's also a cultural issue in many other parts of the world. And he's saying, for instance, that men can choose professions like the police force, like the military, like the security services. Women don't have those options, so more women are going into education. And we see that in the UAE, where nearly 60% of university students are women. But many of the disciplines that they're choosing are not scientific related. And he's trying to encourage more women to take these jobs on and to have the extended education that you need to become a doctor or an engineer or any other type of scientist.
So has he got any suggestions for how we can get some of these obviously bright and educated young women into the harder sciences?
Certainly, Tina. Mohammed Aish is a professor of communications And generally his column every week is about what the media can do. And here he sees the media as a huge role in having women be more comfortable with scientific professions. He thinks